Mac, good morning. Thanks for joining us on this special edition of Talkline.
Thanks for having me.
Mac, let's start with the special election, which comes up in 3 months. It's a bond issue, which, if passed by the voters, would raise about $1.6 billion for road work in West Virginia. Has work already begun with the county clerks to have this election on October 7th? And can the clerks get it together in time?
Oh, they certainly will, although they are scrambling. And yes, the work has begun. As soon as the governor made the announcement that he was calling for this election, they've gone to work, and there's a schedule with almost a day-by-day account as to what has to happen, and they're busy at it. There are issues such as if somebody needs to change a precinct or a polling location, those notifications have to be set by the county commission, and notices go out to the county. Then there's a requirement that notification be made to the people so they know where to go to vote. And you can just imagine, in a short amount of time like this, people have scheduled functions, scheduled
Sure.
weddings, scheduled other things, and that may conflict with where a polling place may have been. So, yes, the clerks are on top of this, and but like I said, they're scrambling to get this done.
Yeah, Mac Warner's with us, West Virginia Secretary of State. And Mac, as you said, Saturdays in the fall are busy with football games, with events, with festivals. People make plans. How do you think that's going to impact turnout? And what do you think it's your responsibility to do anything to encourage turnout for this road bond vote?
Oh, absolutely. That major function of the Secretary of State's office is to educate the voters and to encourage people to vote. So the first thing that people need to do is they need to register. If you haven't registered to vote, then it's time to get online and do so, or get to your county clerk and register. The deadline for that is September 18th to register for this special election. But yes, we want to hear from all West Virginians to see whether they want to pay for this additional burden to have better roads. I mean, it's a clear issue. The Secretary of State's office takes no position in this one way or the other. But we do encourage people to get out and vote because we want the people of West Virginia who will be paying for this, but will also be benefiting from the new roads, to have a voice whether they want to go this direction or not.
Mac, do you have an estimate of how much this election will cost?
It's going to be expensive. We're looking at, we've polled the clerks. We've heard back from most of them, and it's looking like it's going to be something north of $2 million. So that is something the governor's office, the clerks, or the counties pay for that initially, but the governor's office will reimburse that after the fact. But yes, it's going to be over $2 million.
Mac, will there be an early voting period for the bond vote?
Yes, absolutely there will. The early voting will start a couple weeks before. September 22nd, you can start voting early. And then on the Saturdays, September 23rd and September 30th, those are Saturdays. You can also vote on those days as well. Otherwise, during the week, it'll be just during the normal business hours at the county clerk's office.
And Mac, this will be, and correct me if I'm wrong, this will just be a one question bond issue. I presume it will be explained. We don't know yet what exactly it will look like, I don't think. And it'll just be a yes or no. Is that all that's going to be?
That's what it appears to be, just a straight up or down, yes or no vote.
Okay, October 7th is the date. Normal poll hours are 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And I'll just go ahead and jump ahead and tell you that MetroNews will have election coverage that night to tell you what happened with that bond vote. We're talking with Mac Warner, West Virginia Secretary of State. Mac, I want to switch gears here and talk about something else. That is, when you took office, and I know that some of this started under Natalie Tennant, and I know county clerks are working on this all the time, but it seems like there has been a more consolidated effort since January when you took office to try to clean up the voting rolls in West Virginia. I wrote a commentary about this earlier this week because I thought the numbers were pretty impressive. Let me just give you a couple of numbers which you know. So far, the clerks have canceled 63,346 improper or outdated voter registrations since January 16th, and there's more to come. Among those, there were 6,300 names of deceased voters that have been taken off the books. So this is significant. I'm not suggesting, I don't think you are either, that there were dead people voting or that there was anything necessarily improper here. It's just that over time, these voter rolls become kind of clogged up, and the clerks and your office have really tried to clean this up.
Yes, that's correct, and I do appreciate that commentary. It's very accurate, and I appreciate that information getting out. what's important to know is what we're looking at is the election integrity process. That's what we're taking on. It's everything from the registration through the early voting, through the actual vote, through the canvassing following that. We need to look at all aspects of voting in West Virginia and make sure that it's easy to vote but hard to cheat. And that's what we're doing here in the Secretary of State's office. And with the help of the county clerks, I really want to do a shout-out for the county clerks as they have the yeoman's work in cleaning up these lists. And at the same time, we've taken those 63,000 names off. We've also put 16,000 names on. We've encouraged people, and those are actual live bodies of people who we anticipate will be voting. The 63,000, those are simply names that have been on there improperly. They're either deceased or felons or whatever. So you can imagine the voting turnouts will go up now that these lists, these names have come off. We had only one county that had over 70% turnout in the last general election. That was Lewis County. But if these rolls had been cleaned up prior to that, it looks like another 6 or 7 counties in West Virginia would have topped that 70% mark. So all of this is the type of thing that we want to get out to voters to encourage them to vote, especially in this special election.
Well, interestingly, and maybe this is not the primary focus, but clearly the turnout percentages are going to increase, maybe just a little bit, increase some, because the voter rolls are going to be accurate. And as you take, then again, you said some new people have registered 16,000, but if you take off 63,000, and maybe more than that, then you have a more accurate voting roll. Therefore, when you get the number of people that are voting, your percentages are going to be more accurate. Let me focus in on so far the 6,300 voters that were deceased. And I want to be clear about this because of West Virginia's history. And I think at first blush we'll go, dead voters, a dollar and a swaller, the bad old days of vote buying in West Virginia. But you're not suggesting, are you, that any of these were dead voters, are you? I mean, the people that voted even though they were deceased, air quote, voted.
I'm not suggesting that, but there is always that possibility. And so we do have investigators that are looking at those type situations, and if somebody is aware of that type situation, I'd ask them to please report it to the Secretary of State's office so we can take a closer look. But no, I'm looking across the board, not just at one aspect like the deceased voters, wherever irregularities occur. And that can be voter intimidation, it can be vote buying, it can be people voting somebody else's ballot absentee. There are a number of ways for irregularities to occur. And we're looking to clean up. I'll tell you, there were recently, just in May, a couple weeks ago, we had 101 municipal elections on Tuesday. We got to 100 of those offices with either representatives from our office or investigators to actually observe in those precincts and those elections. And we had numerous people talk about that. It's the first time they had seen somebody from the Secretary of State's office. They enjoyed it. They loved it. They wanted it. The word spread around towns, and more people came to vote because they were assured that this was going to be the most honest election because there were observers there. So the word is getting out. This office is taking election integrity seriously, and I'm hoping that that's going to encourage more people to participate in the process.
Mac Warner's with us, West Virginia's Secretary of State. We're talking about not only the special election coming up October 7th on the road bond, but also on cleaning up the voter rolls. And Mac, it is not illegal to be registered in more than one place. And it's not uncommon. Somebody moves to a different county, somebody moves to a different state. But it is illegal, obviously, to vote more than once in an election. As you all are going down this path, do your investigators have any evidence of any individual who has, in fact, voted more than once in an election, which would, in fact, be illegal?
Well, I'm not allowed to discuss specific instances. Just stand by. If that has happened and we have sufficient evidence of that, then the information will be made public at the appropriate time. But just know that is being looked at, but I'm not in a position to address whether that's happened or not.
But you are looking into that, correct? You are cross-referencing to see if there's individuals, because again, you can be registered in 2 different counties, and that's part of sort of cleaning up the voting rolls, or 2 different states, and that's part of cleaning it up, but you can't vote twice. But that is something your office is looking into.
You're correct. And what I would ask the listening public is to simply, if you have registered in another place and then moved, let the other county know that you have moved. Or if you're aware of someone that's moved out of state, talk with the county clerk. We do have a regular, and this is set by code, a regular purging through the National Change of Address process. Every 2 years we look at that. We send out postcards. But many people said, oh, yeah, I registered when I went to Morgantown to go to school or to Huntington. So they've been registered twice. Well, now it's time to go back and clean that up. If you have that opportunity, help the clerks out, let them know that you've moved, and help keep these rolls cleaned up.
Mac, one other thing is you all have done sort of the county-by-county part, but you, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you've done the state-by-state, right? Because you have a number of West Virginians who registered in West Virginia that maybe moved to another state. I'm thinking North Carolina or Florida. You still have to clean that up?
Absolutely, we do, and there are different systems. There's an electronic registration information center. There's a cross-check system that allows us to do that. West Virginia is participating in both of those systems, and that's where I anticipate there's going to be more than 63,000 names that come off these lists after we get information from other states about dual registration. So I suspect that number will continue to climb as the months go on.
Mac Warner, West Virginia Secretary of State. Mac, thanks for coming on today. We appreciate it. Stay in touch.
Thank you. Appreciate it.